And then when you speak about desires, and in spiritual teachings, we hear that a lot, that dropping the desires, because there's no one there to desire anything anyway. So, but when it comes to desires, who is desiring? Is that the conditioned mind and body, Tim?
Great question. I think so. Having gotten into the law of attraction more and more, I've become more and more comfortable with desire. And I think it's actually, so I don't look at it as a negative thing. I used to look at it much more from the Buddhist tradition of kind of like you have to practice non-attachment. I now think that as long as we're alive, our conditioned form, our body desires things. That's just obvious, right? I mean, it's like you have to drink water, you have to eat, you have to sleep. These are desires, right? And so being ascetic about something or everything is just, that's fine if you want to do that, but even that is a desire. So I would say that being honest with what you really want in this form, in being aligned with what you really want, as opposed to denying that or thinking that it's wrong, is very, very powerful. And that's kind of like where we can really utilize law of attraction principles in a practical way, that doesn't make us uncomfortable. But I'm all for people embracing their desires, because your desire is guiding you to what you want, what you really want, not just externally, but inwardly. So, to desire, if we want inner peace, which is what we're talking about right now and how you have it already, even that is a desire. But when you actually experience it, it's not about desire or getting or anything. You're just here right now. But, any type of logical discussion, if we're using words, desire is going to be there. So we should be comfortable using it. We can be uncomfortable, but we're probably not going to feel as good if we are uncomfortable about what we desire.
That's true. And that's the practice of being open, right? It sounds like a practice, being open.
Definitely.
Right,
Definitely.
this moment. And then when you speak of the desires, what comes to me is that the mind and the body, they are conditioned. So they do need conditions to exist in a way.
Exactly.
To be what they are, right? Like the body, as you said, it needs food, water. So that's the conditionings that need conditions to be. How interesting when we think about the mind and the body. A question that often comes to me is, how did this come to be? I think I probably asked you this before. Some of the spiritual teachings, they talk about karma and how our desires and our passions and the things that we attach to, we keep coming after them. It's really the identification with material things in this plane. And then, is that something that that resonates with you too, Tim?
Well, what resonates with me is that it's all, I can't think of the exact quote or even paraphrase it, but Nisargadatta Maharaj, who's most famous for I Am That. And in my opinion, that book really should have been called I Am Not That.
Yeah.
But I really like how he explains it in Robert Powell, I believe, is the editor of some of his other talks. And like, what is it? There's one, The Ultimate Medicine, I think is one of those books that he edited of Nisargadatta Maharaj's talks. He really speaks about this in a way that resonates with me, where this body, this conditioned body, it came out of randomly. It's random. Right. It's not, I don't believe in karma or any of that other stuff, except karma is on the physical plane. But there's something that we're touching upon that's not on the physical plane, that's non-changing. But as soon as you get in the physical plane, as soon as there's desire, it's all karmic, right? But what's before that is God, self with a capital S, whatever you want to call it. It's unconditioned. So you can't make my point is you can't make a link. I think people try to make links and make all these stories up all the time. As far as I'm concerned, they're just stories. And that's why, like, Nisargadatta Maharaj, I am not that. Which he says in some other lectures, interestingly, it's not I am that. It's I am not that, as far as I'm concerned. And the not that is, so what is that? What is not that? It kind of, what it does is it instead of linking everything up, it breaks the chain and frees you, where you don't have to say, oh, this is because of my karma. This is because of this happened to me when I was young, or this is because of my predisposition to get sad or angry. Break that link. You're already free.
What are your ideas of success and happiness these days, Tim?
Same as always. No big deal. I mean, it's like, I mean, there's this practical desire, right? Where it's like you want to, whatever your desires in life might be on a practical level, where it's like, you might want to have a happy family, or you might want to have career success or success in relationships or whatever, very mundane stuff. But then the deeper thing, which people are usually looking for, you break the chain and you realize that it's not real. And so like what we're talking about, like the idea of happiness is right now. And that's literally the case. And we just forget that all the time, but again, that does not mean that we have to settle for less than what we desire in our mundane, quote unquote, mundane life. If we want to have a happy family life and, live in a nice place or whatever it may be, it's like, it's normal to have desires for those things, but it just gets muddled so easily. People get so confused and they lose focus on what they want on this practical level, and then they confuse it with being spiritual, and they forget that what's truly spiritual is always accessible to us. Salvation is always right here. And that's it's just like, the Law of Attraction Simplified. I talk a lot about common sense in that book. And it seems like kind of an odd thing to mention in light of like kind of this far out conversation we're having. But there is really this element of like common sense. It's like, that's why I say feel good, not bad. I mean, it doesn't get much more common sense than that, but it's much harder to feel good, not bad than we usually expect. We were saying before we went live, it's simple to hear this stuff, seems like simple instructions, but it's not as easy to actually do it. And so the practice is doing it, and it's not like you're going to, burn up and go to hell if you don't practice it. But it's like in this life, literally for yourself, psychologically, it might feel that way sometimes. And the more you do practice it, the less likely that's going to happen. And the more okay and good you're going to feel about your day-to-day existence, I think.
Yeah.